What is up, guys? Welcome to this video. My name is Lucas, and in this one, I'm going to be telling you how to stop falling into your toxic habits. Now, this is actually rather simple, but it's going to take some work on your part. Now, the first thing that we have to do if we want to stop falling into any kind of toxic pattern is to be conscious right now. Wake up to this moment right here. Be aware in this moment. And I'm going to help you do that. I want you right now to make a distinction between your thoughts and awareness. And I want you to take what I'm going to call the meta perspective, or a bird's eye view. So right now, you're probably very in your thoughts, you're very wrapped up in your mind, you're very identified with it. And now I want you to just be aware of it. Notice awareness without content, without judgment, without any sense of good or bad, right or wrong, what you should or shouldn't do. Notice just awareness, just watching. And then just notice thoughts, okay? And make a distinction between awareness and thoughts. And just be aware of the thoughts. Now, when we fall into any sort of toxic pattern, we are not aware. We're sleepwalking in that moment. We're autopiloting our way through life. And this is actually how you spend the vast majority of your life, is just on autopilot mode. You think you're awake, but you're really just sleepwalking most of the time. I actually have a very good video, Are You an Autopilot? You should check that one out. But without further ado, I'm going to continue on with this video. So when we fall into a toxic habit, maybe we eat too much Doritos, there's an entire process that's happening that is recreating this pattern. I'm getting in my car, I'm going to the grocery store, I'm picking up Doritos and putting them in the shopping cart. I'm literally handing a person my money to eat so I can get the Doritos and eat them. I'm opening up the bag, I'm putting it in my mouth, I'm choosing to swallow it. So there's a lot of stuff that we did to reinforce this habit. And if we actually want to stop eating Dorito chips, at any one of those actions, we just stop. We become conscious. We become aware, immediately we become aware right now in this moment, right here, aware, and we cut off that pattern. So what we do is we become conscious with the intention to rewrite what is happening. If you just become aware, you'll just fall back asleep in 2 seconds. If you only have the intention to rewrite, you'll find yourself watching this video. Just the intention to rewrite isn't enough, because you're going to fall asleep way too much. You need to wake yourself up the second you detect that pattern. Any sense of recognition of that pattern, you need to wake up, start referencing awareness. Find yourself as the one who is aware of the experience and not lost in the thoughts, lost in the actions, lost in the feelings, and have the intention to recreate it. So be conscious right now. That's an insanely important point. And rewire the subconscious by changing the habit. By definition, a habit is something that is deeply ingrained in us. The reason why you keep falling into these sort of toxic patterns is because they're so familiar. They provide such a deep sense of knowing and safety. And these patterns, you know that they'll sort of keep you alive in your current form. They'll keep this thought pattern alive. They'll keep this emotional pattern alive, because being alive and surviving is not just eating food and taking care of yourself, but you want to survive as a particular self, with a particular self-image, with a particular pattern of thought, with a particular set of beliefs, with a particular emotional experience. And this whole thing that we call ourself is basically programmed to maintain that bubble. And when you're rewiring a habit, you're no longer attempting to maintain that bubble. So a lot of your basic survival impulses start to come out. You feel yourself maybe getting a little bit tense around it, kind of nervous. You feel a bit anxious. You might feel an emotional pull towards continuously doing the habit. And I'm going to quickly just talk about the emotional pull very quickly. You have to notice it in your body. You can't notice emotions from your thoughts. You don't really feel your emotions. You're great at thinking about your emotions, But sitting there with the emotion and inquiring into what it is, why it's here, how do I create this, what even is an emotion, you don't really know any of that. You're great at just thinking about them and, recognizing it and being familiar with it, but you have very little understanding of why it's there, what it actually is, how it gets created, what its purpose is, all this stuff. There's a lot of questions you can ask that you don't really know. What are the beliefs that I have that create the emotion? What are the patterns that I have, etc. So you need to actually bring awareness into your body when you notice the pull. And you actually have to release the physical tension in your body because, like I said, the survival impulses come up and you actually start tensing up a lot. Right now, if you look at your body, there's tension in places that there really shouldn't be for the most part. You're kind of holding yourself in a very artificial position for safety. They're just old habits that you have that, at one point served you, most likely when you were a child, and you've just held them that way. And your body's just been sort of constricted like this. So when you fall into a toxic pattern, you're falling asleep, really. You're asleep to the moment. You're not aware. You're not aware. And you don't have an intention to rewrite the pattern. Now, I want to talk about the parts of us that don't actually want to change the pattern, which are the parts of us that want to survive, the parts of us that are scared, the parts of us that want safety, the parts of us that want safety, the parts of us that want to stay in what we know. None of that is bad, but we just got to be aware of it with the intention to rewrite that as well. Your survival, odds are, is not really being threatened by you eating Dorito chips, for example. But maybe you don't want to eat Dorito chips anymore. You want to change your diet, eat cucumbers, eat celery, something that's better for you. But you find yourself continuously going for the bag of Dorito chips. You are actually identified with this pattern, and that is a part of yourself. And to actually let go of that pattern, you actually have to allow a part of yourself to actually die. The thing is that this is actual death. This is actual death. This isn't like, metaphorical death, a part of, no. This is actually you're dying. That part of you that you believe is you, I actually have a Dorito chip addiction or whatever, that's dying. That part of your actual sense of identity is collapsing and you're getting rid of it. So parts of you notice that and then they, kick in and they get you to maintain that bubble, that sense of self. So none of that is to really be demonized, but just observed and rewired to how you would prefer. Now, there's a very important point I have here, and that is the depth of your awareness is what will allow you to have the freedom to create and change habits easily. So consider the possibility of changing that quick. Now, you don't know how to do that because odds are the depth of your awareness is probably a bit shallow. You probably don't have a very radically high level of consciousness, but as your consciousness increases, you'll actually be able to transform yourself very quickly because you're going to be more aware of even how you create a self in the first place, this sort of ego. You're going to be a lot more aware of thought patterns, emotional patterns, behavioral patterns, etc., with less attachment to them, with less identity, and you'll be able to let them go much more effortlessly. Whereas right now, there's a bit of a struggle between letting things go because they're so ingrained into your sense of self and reality and familiarity and safety and knowing. It's all part of survival, baby. Now, if we just become aware right now, stop going to sleep on me, become aware, witness what's happening, stop falling asleep with the intention to rewrite, we can make some pretty swift changes. Now, the way to rewire a habit is by having a strong intention to, actually wanting to, while being conscious. And your conscious mind might say, yeah, I want to change some of these patterns, but you still fall asleep. And you still just drift off into these toxic habits. And that is because it's so ingrained in you. It's just picked up by your subconscious mind, kind of like walking. If you want to walk, what do? You just get up and walk. You don't have to have a thought about it. You can get up and walk without thinking at all. But you couldn't really do that when you were young. You really had to try. You have to put in a lot of effort. You were crawling, you got up, you fell down, you probably cried a bit, and then eventually you picked it up and you could walk effortlessly. It took a while, it took a lot of practice. And eventually your subconscious mind picked it up and it could perform the action. It could just carry out the action without any real effort on your part. It makes things very easy. But the thing is when you rewire your subconscious to perform actions that you don't really like, and it just keeps performing them, and your conscious mind doesn't like them, now there's a sense of conflict and internal discord. And what you have to do is become conscious of the whole pattern. You going to the store, picking up the Doritos, having the thought, I want Doritos, even prior to picking them up, putting them in the bag or putting them in your shopping cart, giving the cashier your money, etc., driving home, opening up the bag, putting it in your mouth, swallowing. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. Or you not going to the gym, you wish you weren't so lazy or something, you know? Notice you getting the Dorito chips, going to the couch, turning on the TV, all of these things. There's like, it's not like, oh, one thing, it's like a series of events. So at any one of those moments, you can literally just snap in, start referencing awareness, be aware of what's happening, guys, awareness, and rewrite what's happening. And you need to actually make an intention to raise your consciousness. You're going to suck at this if you're very unconscious, really. You're not really used to it. And the depth of your awareness or your level of consciousness is what's going to allow you to really rewire yourself very quickly. See, if you just get some nice habits that you like, you're still just going to roam your life in autopilot. And you don't really want to just be in constant autopilot. You want to be able to really be immersed in the experience of life. That's why you want good habits, because you want to really be immersed in life and love it. So you actually need to make a deep intention to raise your consciousness if you want to really let a lot of these patterns fall off, because a lot of them are so deeply ingrained in you that some of them you might never actually let go of. Some habits you don't even know you have are habits that create a lot of suffering in your life, and they're very delusional. A lot of them you'll actually not be able to ever recognize in the first place without raising your consciousness. But if you have a very basic sort of toxic habit like eating too many Dorito chips or something, and you want to stop, this video is actually perfect for you. You have to notice the entire pattern, witness it. Don't get lost in it. Watch the thoughts. Watch the act. Reference awareness. Notice the part of you that is just aware. It's not judging the experience in any way. Just, oh, I'm reaching for it. That's a nice observation. I'm reaching for the Dorito chips. Oh, okay, I can rewire this. Let me put my hand back on the shopping cart and just go. So you really need to wake up while you're performing the action and while you're in the thoughts with the intention to rewrite them. That's it for this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed.